My name's James. I'm in my mid-40s and I haven't picked up a paintbrush since I was a late teenager. So I set myself the challenge of painting daily for 100 days and posting on YouTube. So I had an idea to come up the mountain to show you my sketchbooks because things were getting busy at home. And I wanted to start with this one from Patente. I think it's about 12 centimeters by 12 centimeters, hot pressed watercolor paper, 300 grams. And the first thing to say, I suppose, is most of the art that I did wasn't from reference photos. It was generally in plein air or from still life, which meant that it adds challenges to your sketching. This one I wanted to draw your attention to, the sketch of the light. It's a subject that I tried a number of different times throughout the project. There's another example. I've practiced that a lot, and I also tried painting fires a couple of times, but it's very challenging to get a realistic effect, to try and get that color contrast and the tonal contrast, to get it to pop on the page. To get that to work is quite tricky. Quite like that. There's another example of painting the candle and getting that candle light to pop as well. And there's another example of a fireplace, trying to get the gold colors of the fire to really stand out and to get those balances right. This is quite a nice one. That's actually that mountain over there. And I quite like some of the simpler stuff. I think what I learned from an early stages with watercolor particular, the more washes you put over, the muddier it gets. So fewer washes and letting the white of the page shine through really make bold statements. So the idea of suggestion. And I took to drawing everyday objects. Drawing a pretty picture is one thing, but if it doesn't tell a story, it doesn't really engage with the viewer. This one here of the spinach, I sort of gave myself permission to vandalize the picture and just play with it and destroy it in interesting ways. One thing that I would say is I much prefer this square format, a sketchbook, because it allows you to go over to 2 pages and it seems easier to work in, it's easier to hold, whereas these landscape formats I find a little bit trickier, a little bit more awkward to sketch in. It's quite actually, like having posted daily for 100 days on YouTube, it's maybe worth tipping the hat to like the creative side of YouTube as well. And what I've noticed is there seems to be absolutely no relationship between the quality of the art that I'm posting daily and the views that it's getting, which is probably quite a good thing because it separates the two. I think there's a danger of using the number of views or the number of subscribes on a particular post as a measure of how good that piece of art is, and I think that is a very dangerous place to go. Especially if you mix that in with a bit of dopamine addiction and scrolling addiction, and that's also something I need to be careful of because I'm a sucker for that. And this was significant, this picture here. It was a bit of a milestone moment for me. I can find one of the very earliest sketches that I did. It's a very prominent boulder that sat up on the hill behind us here. And I think way before I'd even started this project, that's the sketch of the same thing as like one of the earliest sketches. So to see how that progress has come on, it's quite a satisfying feeling in a relatively short amount of time. In 100 days, that's not long. I started playing with a lot more pen and wash in this sketchbook. A lot more fast and loose stuff. This is maybe a relevant one. I painted that scene of the front door a number of times and I don't feel like I've quite captured it, but it's a huge difference again from the very beginning, earlier attempts, which is this guy here. So to see that improvement is quite satisfying. I've taken to drawing the kids quite a lot. Couple of reasons. It's nice for the memories, but it's also really, I mean, a kid is never gonna sit still, which forces me to get the main shapes down as quickly as possible, and you're looking to paint a feel rather than a detail. It's hard to describe. It's just your sketches are like just a collection of mistakes by default, but somehow those mistakes organise themselves on the page and end up being lifelike. I have this other sketchbook here, which is kind of my doodle sketchbook. I'll show you elements of it in a bit, but if I came away from a sketch like that thinking, oh my gosh, the proportions of the face are so bad and unlifelike, I'd come away and I'd go and practice faces for a bit in the sketchbook. So I'd look at different methods for sketching a portrait. And I actually settled on the Loomis method. I came across a YouTube video that explained it quite clearly. So I'd go and I'd just, with very quick, rough and ready, just start sketching some faces to try and get the proportions a bit better. It's maybe worth noting, these are some of my favourite sketches from the last 100 days. These loose sketches of the kids and the bright colours. And you can see the faces. There's very little detail on the faces, but that's something I want to work on. I want to build the confidence to build in that detail. I decided to experiment a lot with monochrome to really work on tonal value, and the rest of the sketchbook is monochromatic sketches. Monochromatic, if that's the right phrase. Just to work on tonal detail. And that was a very beneficial exercise for me. It enabled me to sketch quickly and focus on tonal contrast. That's Ollie having his breakfast and our bin. And that's our road. This is a scene that I've sketched a number of times. I think I sketched it again in this book. There's one, and actually this one was done from, I think, a reference photo. It's one of the few that I did from a reference photo. That was a sketch of some workmen from a cafe, an art braai or barbecue. And that's the wetlands near where we live. Another one of our road. That one was from my mind. There you go, that's one that's painted in the rain that came out quite nice. I recommend, the reason I redrew the same scene a number of times is that, especially with this project, I could see the progress, but also you become more familiar with the sort of shapes and the lines, and more familiar with how the shadows are thrown. I went through a phase of a bit of urban sketching, which I quite enjoy, except you have to be a little bit careful in South Africa by yourself. Quick sketch whilst waiting for the kids at the school gate, and more of our braai and trying to get the realistic effect of smoke and fire. It's hard to do. And that's Ollie coming home from school, and probably the after effects of the braai. Again, started to do a lot more sort of figure drawing, pen and wash. I work in the city, which is a great opportunity to do a quick doodle of people having coffee, for example. These are views from the mountains that surround us. We live in the southern peninsula of Cape Town. That's another urban scene from the high street. And then a lot of Georgie and the kids. Georgie in the morning during our morning coffee before the kids have got up. So she's been very patient with me sketching her a lot of the mornings. And then scenes of the kids. And the kids doing homework, and the last pictures are of Peggy, who I'll miss dearly when we go travelling in less than a month. So the idea is to send these books back with my dad and stepmum tonight, who fly back to the UK, and they can take them to my mum, who's at home. She didn't manage to come out this year. Who's visited us before, and she'll really appreciate these sketchbooks at home. And hopefully it will bring her some form of connection to the kids. Let's stick it in here. So that's why I'm gifting these sketchbooks to her. The 100-day project has been a fantastic learning experience, and it's well and truly got me into a daily painting habit. It's helped me to better understand and nurture the creative process. I'm also very grateful to the art community that have commented on the videos that I've been posting. They've been incredibly insightful and supportive, and I thank you very much.